this is a moment where we could be more united than ever. Because I'm hearing thousands, tens of thousands of stories of former Trump voters who are done, former Republicans who are leaving the Republican Party because the party has left them. People sharing with me observations that in their neighborhoods where there used to be a ton of Trump signs, they're being taken down, some being taken down as recently after the announcement of J.D. Vance also, and all of the weirdness and strangeness and all of the behavior recently. Hey, it's better late than never. So I want to share with you, if you will allow me, some of the stories I've just heard over the past 24 hours. And you know, this is part of a continuing series we do here at the MeidasTouch Network, but I want to share stories of former Trump voters, former Republicans who are now voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, if you have a story like this, whether it's you, a friend, family member, coworker, neighbor, just somebody who you know, share it with me in the comments below. One thing I want to talk about before I read some of these comments, though, is what happened over the weekend where Donald Trump gave this speech at this Bitcoin conference in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, when the people finally heard Donald Trump, this is, you know, what we're hearing. This is embarrassing Trump rambling at some Bitcoin conference about electricity. It's hurting my brain. Does Donald Trump even know what Bitcoin stands for? What a shame this is. Donald Trump was up there just ranting and raving. The more you hear him talk, the more it's so obvious that this is an unhinged, deranged, and just overall weird person. Americans are waking up. He thought that was going to be a crowd that was going to support him, and they detested him. So here are some of the stories. Let me share them with you. Caleb goes, I'm 40, live in a red state, and voted for Trump in 2016. I was wrong. Those who warned me turned out to be correct. I left the Republican Party after January 6th and donated to Kamala Harris this week. I like our country as a democratic republic. I don't want authoritarianism or fascism. Next comment. My 30-year-old son who's on the fence moved into his house this weekend and meets his new neighbor who's an older gentleman. Told my son, you were voting for Kamala, son. My son looked at him kind of confused. His neighbor said, don't vote for Trump. He is an evil man. I was a Republican and I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Told him, you want to look back and be a part of history. Needless to say, I love his neighbor. Ricky writes, I voted for Trump the first time and I regretted it almost immediately. I'm a gun owner who used to have 2 guns in the back window of my pickup in school, but I've never tried to use one against someone I was fighting with. It makes me sick what has happened under Trump. Terry writes, I'm a 63-year-old white registered Republican woman, registered gun owner, living on Social Security disability income. I am also a childless, crazy cat lady who worked over 34 years in a non-traditional field in environmental cleanup where I dealt with guys like Trump. I voted for him before, but never again. I'm gladly voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. We are not going back. Thanks for sharing that comment. The next one is, my husband's golf and poker buddy was staunch Republicans. He's had enough of Trump. He's now a registered Democrat, and he never donated to any Democrat before, and he just donated to Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign. Jim Smith writes, I'm a pro-choice, pro-LGBT Republican that did vote for Trump in 2016. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. I reluctantly voted for Biden in 2020, and he absolutely exceeded my expectations. I am ecstatic to vote Harris in 2024. We're not going back. Jessica writes, I live in a very MAGA Trump area, and I have seen those Trump flags go down on trucks and stickers go down, and I just hope everybody realizes how dangerous he really is and to vote for Kamala Harris. Next comment. I live in a small town in southwest Oklahoma. Several weeks ago, there used to be 3 or 4 houses that flew Trump flags on a daily and nightly basis. Since he appointed J.D. Vance as his running mate, however, I have not seen a flag yet. They have all been taken down. Here's a great comment by Mike Green. I'm Christian, lifelong Republican, straight white, 58-year-old, permanently disabled for the last 5 years, Texan, who voted Republican in 2016. I'm sorry. I didn't pay any attention, also lifelong, to the privilege and right of voting process. I always just voted the way my father did. Always thought, what's the worst that could happen? Shortly after voting, I very quickly learned the error of my ways. I have 5 sisters, a daughter, and a granddaughter. There is no way I could look any of them in the eye and defend a sexual predator. Not as a Christian, not as a man, not as a human. Despite the myriad of other provable and proven reasons why this sexual predator is not fit for any office, his abhorrent treatment of women in every conceivable way stops any further consideration of the man-child who would be king. I voted Democrat in 2020 and will continue to enthusiastically do so. Jerry writes, our 4 elderly neighbors voted for Trump in 2016, didn't vote in 2020, and now are voting for Kamala Harris. They have morals and common sense. Lynn writes, I'm so proud I finally got my daughter to watch the real facts about Trump, not those that can be proven by the Republican Party. She was for Trump in 2016, again in 2020. Now, to her own good sense, she is going Kamala Harris. Thank God I didn't give up on her. I want to pause there for a second and just remind people it is never too late to have these conversations. It's very hard sometimes in one conversation, almost impossible to change someone's view. When you actually do a deep dive into cult deprogramming and research, one of the things that push people further into the cult is often their shame of being so wrong and hurting so many people. So one of the things that I suggest that you just do is you can provide them with resources, whether it's the MeidasTouch YouTube channel, suggest some of the videos where we play the clips and just allow them to see, hey, you want to see what Trump said in this speech? You want to see what he's saying here? Why don't you listen to his own words? And if you don't, just want to see the clips on MeidasTouch, then why don't you watch a full speech and see for yourself if this makes any sense to you? See for yourself if Trump is talking about issues or policies or things that actually impact your life, or if instead he's talking about Hannibal Lecter fictional cannibals who eat brains, as he says, or if he's talking about how far he hits golf balls, or if he's talking about getting eaten by sharks versus being electrocuted. Just think about those types of things and say, wait a minute, this is weird and this doesn't make sense. Eric Pierce writes, my neighborhood was full of Trump 2020 signs and banners last time, not a single one this year. Next comment. Yep, ex-Republican here, voting blue straight down the line. I will never vote for a single Republican candidate for as long as I have breath left in my lungs. Actually, all that is left from the party is its name. Next comment. I'm from Connecticut. I'm 58 years old and have never voted Democrat for the past 40 years. I will be voting for Kamala Harris this year. Next comment. I'm a proud Republican, I really am, but I refuse to vote for a convicted felon. That's not just the only reason, and we all know those reasons why we aren't voting for Trump. I'm hanging in as a Republican, but if it doesn't feel right, I'll vote Democrat when needed. May God bless our country. Next comment. Hispanics for Harris. Voters who supported Trump in the last election took a long time to figure out what a disaster he is, but better late than never. Sabrina writes, I was MAGA misinformed in 2016 for Biden, and now I'll be voting for Kamala Harris and our democracy. Next comment, I was a lifelong Republican up until COVID started, and Trump refused to let the passengers off a cruise ship because he didn't want his numbers to double. For me, this has never been political. It's simply right versus wrong, good versus bad. Vote. Next comment, I'm a Latino ex-Trump voter. Will never vote for him again. He doesn't respect the Constitution at all or women. Lauren writes, my story is as follows. I have friends who are from the Gen Z and millennial generations. They are all voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. Some are diehard Republicans, but express they don't want to vote for a convicted felon, a pathological liar, and an old man. We've had numerous conversations regarding Trump and Harris. Dan writes, I'm a Republican, but can't vote for a dictator and his army of liars. I am voting blue this year across the board. Maria writes, I changed my party affiliation from Republican to Independent this year. I ignorantly voted for Trump. Never again. Next comment, I voted Republican for 4 decades, but the party abandoned me and they lost me forever. Go Kamala. Ryan writes, I voted for Trump in 2016, but then he brought dishonor to what I'd always held a president up to. I'll never vote for him again. Robert, I'm 93 years old. I have been a Republican all my life. First mistake voting for Trump 2016, no more. Now proudly voting for Kamala Harris. Former Republican here, Republican against Trump, baby. You got these comments over and over again. I thought it was important that I share it for you. And just so you can kind of see this, like, let me just show you. This is what Donald Trump was talking about over the weekend. Here, he talks about hitting a golf ball hard. Play the clip.
And I can hit the crap out of the ball. I'm good. I shoot good scores. And when you win a club championship, that means you can play under pressure. You can ask a lot of the people up there, like Brett Baer. Brett Baer's a good golfer. Ask him, can Trump play? Ask a lot of the people, but can you...
Here he talks about Hannibal Lecter. Play the clip.
From prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. You know, they go crazy when I mention Dr. Hannibal Lecter. You know who that was? They say, why does he keep mentioning Hannibal Lecter? Well, you see, he was a slightly troubled patient in an insane asylum, and he'd love to have you for dinner. You right there. He'd love to have you for dinner. But I mentioned him because we have people like that coming into our country. They're closing their insane asylums all over the world.
This will be the last time we have to vote. Here, play the clip.
I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote. Just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
That's a threat to democracy right there. So take that and then compare that, though, to Vice President Kamala Harris. And here is a video that we produced at the MeidasTouch Network. Let's play it.
Donald Trump wants to take our country backward, but we are not going back. We are not going back.
Tear gas was used to remove peaceful protesters from Lafayette Park.
The president setting up this photo op for himself, dispersing peaceful protesters. He's holding up a Bible.
This is a mass grave being dug for coronavirus victims at New York City's Potter's Field.
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The love in the air, I've never seen anything like it.
A group on one side and you had a group on the other. Very fine people on both sides.
You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy.
I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade.
We are not going back.
So tell me what you think in the comments below, but I think it's important that we share these stories. Let people know that this pro-democracy community here, it's not about Democrat, Republican, Independent. As long as you support democracy, there's a place for you in this pro-democracy community. So liberals, mainstream conservatives, independents, welcome. We love the flag here. We love our country, and we support law and order. And we look at this Trump MAGA movement as unhinged and weird and problematic. And J.D. Vance is searching like dolphins and women. And what in the world is going on with Trump is talking about Hannibal Lecter. I just want normalcy, folks. I want democracy. Let's support it. Share this network. Tell people about what's going on. Tell people about this energy. We could be a part of this change together. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million together. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.